I'm at the Institute for Engineering and Technology in London. I'm here with Will Sterling and we've come to the Future of Wireless conference. I've come to learn how Industry 4 and digital technology is going to impact on small to medium sized businesses and precision engineers in the future. This is a very broad conference, there's lots of speakers, but we just touch on a few of the highlights from the show and talk to a few of the presenters and delegates.
You start to look at IoT in the new world, the economics are changing, and actually it's as much about the energy and the process and the algorithms and the data that you have as about the product. So actually what you're seeing in general nowadays is that manufacturers such as Rolls-Royce, they're now sort of not just using the technology to design their product, but they're actually embedding it to measure how it's working.
What was historically maybe a simple product is now much more complex. It has interactions from all sorts of different phenomena. Products that never had an antenna before in them now have antennas, so it's not just mechanical performance, it's electromagnetic performance.
So Robert, tell me a little bit about Cambridge Wireless.
There was a small group of companies that got together to look at how 3G technology was going to change and how they could collaborate together to make the most of the revolution in connectivity that was coming down the tracks.
So I'm the chairman of CW, or Cambridge Wireless, so my responsibility is to oversee the overall organisation of the event, and also to help work with the rest of the board to set the long-term strategy for CW.
So we've been spending the last couple of years actually working with Ocado, the online grocery company, to help them revolutionise their warehouse automation systems. So they had an amazing vision, if you like, for what the next generation of their warehousings were going to look like, which was completely different from what anything exists from today, completely different from their current warehouses. And that required a completely new radio control system so that they could communicate with thousands of robots moving at high speed in real time, so they could get the absolute maximum efficiency out of those warehouses.
Simulation is now going way beyond just the things and designing the things, but also into operation and maintenance, and how we can unlock additional value through simulation for customers, small, medium and large, as they're serving their customers with much more smarter products, more connected products.
If we don't embrace it, what you're going to find is that other organisations, other industries will embed sensor technology, they will embed the data element that they can capture, and they'll be selling that data element either for improving their product faster than anybody else, and they'll be innovating faster, or they'll be actually developing a better relationship with their customers, so that actually they're going to get more repeat sort of buys and actually increase sales overall.
The network of well over 400 companies that cover the whole, what we would call the wireless stack, and it's also grown outside of Cambridge as well, so it's across the whole country, and it also includes 17 countries at the last look that I had.
So we develop a lot of semiconductor technology, and semiconductors have really enabled not only consumer goods to be miniaturized, to be low cost, to be high performance, but also some of those technologies can also be applied to industrial applications as well.
So that's the radio system which goes into the robots, the base station access points which will allow you to control and configure all of those, and also the server-side software which commissions that whole system and makes it work.
Rather than just selling a widget, if that widget is providing data and it will tell you when it needs a service, when it's about to wear out, what you're selling now to your customer is actually knowing when that's going to happen, and then you're actually enabling your customer to have less downtime.
This is the 8th Future of Wireless conference. It's only been an annual conference, and The name FWIC has come into the lexicon now. Yes, Future of Wireless International Conference. But the focus of this conference was the future connected world. Last year we looked at 5G and where the developments of 5G were going.
So the semiconductor game is all about scale, and as process technology gets smaller and smaller, we've got to huge levels of miniaturization, and to achieve those you need state-of-the-art manufacturing, which it costs billions of dollars in terms of investment. So it's only the big guys who can really make that investment to keep pushing along Moore's law and bring the semiconductor technology miniaturization to ever-increasing levels of shrinking, and that brings with it not just cost benefit, but also performance benefit.
The keynote session said it's not so much now about will this disruption happen, it's about the fact that it has happened and how can we monetize and capture the opportunity.
This year we're looking at verticals and how wireless technology and technology in general is disrupting vertical industries. And we've looked at retail, we've looked at fintech just now, we've looked at healthcare and a lot of other areas as well. But one of the key areas, of course, is industrial IoT. Most of what Cambridge Wireless is about, or CW is about B2B. It's about businesses talking to businesses.
The interesting thing for us has been this, as you say, this kind of increasing awareness and acceptance of the convergence of kind of digital and physical, where the industrial internet is absolutely smack in the middle of that kind of that convergence.
If you look at this year, I think the emerging technologies around communications are really making a big difference. Narrowband technologies that are going to mean that you can connect more data from more disparate things.
With industrial IoT, of course, there's a huge revolution happening with the Internet of Things, both in terms of logistics and the supply chain for factories, the automation within factories, and also the connectivity with the consumer.
What we see when I look globally is that the real industry leaders, both large companies and smaller companies, now I'll take an example of a GE or a Flowserve as being on the larger end, they're really starting to embed simulation into the whole digital twin concept, and they're making it a reality today.
So for us, it's continued investment, increasing levels of miniaturization, increasing integration as well, so putting more and more components on the same chip. It's all about very strong processing capability. So a lot of the software algorithms now are very data intensive or computational intensive, so a lot of number crunching. So if you imagine controlling a drone in real-time flight, a lot of number crunching from all the sensors needs to happen in real time to be able to control it and guide it. So having that processing capability is very important.
So Ocado have been a great example of that, where they're looking at how they control through pretty advanced IT systems their automation in their warehouses. We've also been looking at other applications where using robotics and some pretty sophisticated algorithms, particularly using machine vision type approaches, we're seeing all of those pieces come together where there are particular areas where you can make real labour savings or real efficiency gains throughout the whole supply chain by using those kind of technologies.
Thinking ahead though, I think is how does that apply to the supply chain, and how are you going to be able to collect more information from the supply chain of things to actually optimise and the whole process from factory to customer and possibly beyond.
2017 and beyond, it's like the whole hardware space for the Internet of Things. Everything's becoming much cheaper, much more accessible. The sensors are now very, very cheap. You have to be producing connected products, and that's going to be throughout the supply chain. And simulation is accessible to companies, whether large or small.
And also connectivity is very important. So having very high bandwidth, low power radio links, whether it's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth low energy or cellular, being able to communicate from your industrial device or your consumer product back to the network, so you can then benefit from all the cloud storage, all the data processing in the server network.
Sensors get cheaper, every year it gets cheaper to send data, and every year it gets easier and cheaper to actually process data at the edge and collect data at the edge of the enterprise.
So, Will, you've been involved in the conferences today. You've seen what's going on, and you've spoken to a lot of delegates as well as kind of speakers. What have you taken from the event?
Well, there's a whole load of things to take, Paul. Certainly one thing that was a revelation to me is the importance of design engineering in the industrial Internet of Things, the idea of the digital twin. It's a phrase that is popular to many people, but what does it mean? It's that you can have a virtual copy of a whole manufactured product or design product virtually on your screen that would perform theoretically and practically like it would in real life. And it's the idea of no longer having any prototypes, but not just, this has been happening for some time, but with better technology, companies such as ANSYS and Autodesk, these guys can really deep dive into the physical parameters of the object and design all the particular physical properties of it before it goes into production.
A viewer of our videos might be a small machining company, a manufacturer. Are they going to watch this and go, well, that's not really for me?
Yeah, it's a good question. It depends on what you make, I think. Somebody said to me that they're capturing more and more data from the consumer, from the user, to know how to design the product. So let's imagine you're trying to give up smoking and you buy the vapor cigarette. If you could build a sensor in, and they're looking at doing this, into the vapor unit to tell the company how often you're using it, how often what times of the day you're using it, what flavors you prefer. That data can be captured and help shape the design and manufacture of that vapor cigarette. And the same could be done with, for example, a very expensive pen. How often is it used, and what type of ink the consumer is using. You don't need to do a data or marketing survey anymore. It's captured for you.
Using this type of technology, it enables you to streamline maybe your manufacturing. But I think the critical point is, if you're not interested in this, you should, because I think you've said yourself that you'll be led this way by your clients or your customers.
I suppose it's push me or pull you, isn't it? Do you want to be told by your OEM customer you've got to do this, or do you want to be a forerunner, a first mover advantage? And I guess if you're of a digital preposition, if you're somebody, a company that's making things and you're quite digitally educated, you'll be looking at how can we use more of these sensors, more of these communication channels to share data about our parts with our customers, and that will probably help embed you in their supply chain further.
Give me a couple more highlights from today for you.
So security, one expert very interestingly said that although we tend to think of the industrial Internet of Things and Industry 4 as the big buzzword that's really relevant to manufacturing now, he said actually if you look at the open source architecture of the internet and connecting the internet to machines, that's a really bad idea, because of course it opens up a lot of companies to the risks of cybersecurity and hacking. What's more relevant is to use wireless connectivity within a private network, within a factory and a company to share data internally. Another highlight of the day for me was about people. A guy from Carillion, a director from Carillion, was saying that they manage over 200,000 buildings in the UK alone. A lot of their maintenance technicians are actually guys in their 60s. They've got a few 70-plus-year-olds working. Now, if they're going to use these digital technologies to improve maintenance protocols, they've not used these before, and what are they going to do? Are you going to let these guys go and get some young apprentices in who are more digitally educated? No, you've got to make the tools suitable for an aging workforce, but with a view to obviously bringing young people through.
That's a tough one.
But yeah, very, very interesting. I think the takeaway would be what Jeff Immelt at GE, the CEO of GE, said a couple of years ago, that looking ahead, if you go to bed tonight thinking you're an industrial company or a manufacturer, be prepared that in a week, when you wake up tomorrow, you might be a digital or software company.